A red weather warning has been issued in parts of Scotland.
Holyrood have the legislative power to reject Westminster's withdrawal bill.
We talked to Gordon Brown about the influential father of devolution. Hello and thank you for joining us. It's 11 a.m. and this is the Info News. I'm Jessica North.
And I'm Cameron Ward. More than 400 schools, transport links and the Forth Road Bridge have been swept by snow this morning as Scotland is hit by extreme weather.
This is the most severe snow warning Scotland has ever seen. The warning has increased from an amber to red, indicating potential loss of life and damage to property. Shan Traynor has the story.
Today there were some disruptions in public transport, with train delays and flights cancelled from both Edinburgh and Glasgow Airport. George Watson's is one of the very few schools in Scotland open today, with an estimated 400 education centres being shut due to weather conditions, including all Edinburgh public schools.
It's unclear at the moment whether schools will reopen tomorrow, with forecasts for Thursday set to bring more snow, gales and blizzards to some areas of the country.
As the Met Office's red warning shows that extreme weather is due to hit, weather forecaster Chris Bell was able to explain what causes these snow spells.
Yeah, well, we've had a very cold air mass coming out of Siberia over the last few days, and as it's done so, it's moved across the North Sea, and that's made quite a few snow showers that have come into eastern parts of Britain over the last 24 hours.
With conditions set to worsen from this afternoon, Edinburgh Council gave this statement about their attempts to keep conditions under control.
As we have been throughout the winter, we're well prepared for whatever the weather has to throw at us. In these circumstances, and throughout the cold snap, we would encourage the public to take great care of themselves and others, particularly vulnerable neighbours, making use of the thousands of grit bins across the capital to treat local areas where they can.
Many were enjoying the snow today. However, it seems that conditions in Edinburgh in the next 24 hours will become much less enjoyable and much more severe.
The EU have released their own withdrawal bill this morning, focusing on the issue of a hard border in Ireland. It comes amidst a dispute between both Westminster and Holyrood over the return of legislative power from Europe. Lord Advocate James Wolfe is expected to say that Holyrood does have the legal power to dispute sections of the bill relating to devolution. Mary Mulhern has more.
This morning, the EU unveiled their terms of Brexit in a withdrawal bill, implying Northern Ireland could remain in the single market and customs union. Belgian MEP Guy Verhofstadt said a hard border could be avoided.
There will be in the future, whatever the outcome of the negotiations will be, there is no divergence in norms, rules, standards between the North of Ireland and the Irish Republic.
David Finnimore, Professor of European Politics at Queen's University Belfast, addresses the issue of a hard border.
It's exceedingly difficult to envisage if the UK withdraws from the customs union and the single market, you can avoid a hard border on the island of Ireland. There would have to be customs controls, there would have to be other controls on the movement of goods, services and capital and potentially people if the UK is outside the single market.
Scottish Parliament are attempting to pass their own withdrawal bill, which focuses on devolved matters. Conservatives have disputed Holyrood's power to draft a Brexit bill. SNP MSP Colin Beattie supports the notion.
Well, I'm very much in favour of it because the alternative is to allow the UK government to press their bill, which we would have to then deal with in the Parliament here, which takes away powers from Scotland.
Presiding officer Kenneth McIntosh said that the bill would not be within the legislative competence of the Parliament. Tory MSP Jeremy Balfour agrees.
It is not within the remit of the Scottish Parliament, where it's danger of a legal challenge at a later stage if this bill becomes an act.
In PM's questions this afternoon, Theresa May reiterated that she would not accept the EU's border proposals.
We're now joined by political correspondent Jamie MacDonald. Jamie, thank you for joining us. So for those of us who are struggling with the complexity of all these bills, could you please explain the difference between the three of them?
Well, yeah, it can be quite hard to keep track. So yesterday the Scottish Government published what they're calling the Continuity Bill, and it sets out the SNP's ambition to ensure that powers return to Holyrood during the transition phase after Brexit. But they're facing a legal battle on that from the Tories and the presiding officer. Now, the UK government would rather decide on those devolved issues through negotiation, but talks have reached a bit of a stalemate in recent weeks. And all of this comes as the EU have decided to publish another bill today which sets out the terms of negotiation in the transition period. And they're honing in again on that Northern Ireland issue, which seems to be the sticking point at the moment. So there's still a long way to go.
Thank you, Jamie. It's 11:06, and let's see what's still to come on today's programme.
Thank you, Jess. Still to come on the programme, we have the latest disruptions to travel as the severe weather progresses throughout the day. We'll keep you up to date with any announcements from Lothian buses, ScotRail or Edinburgh Airport. Hearts' Tynecastle Park will be the venue of a First World War memorial this morning by the veteran charity There But Not There. The club are commemorating 7 former players who died during the First World War. It is part of a campaign across the country. Later in the programme, we talk to Hearts supporters about the significance of the sculptures. We speak to the King's and Leith Theatres about the recent injection of funding in the creative sector by a local council. All this still to come in our programme. Back to you, Jess.
Thank you, Cameron. We have exclusive access to an exhibition marking the 40th anniversary of death of politician John Mackintosh. We talked to former Prime Minister Gordon Brown about his early mentor, labelled the father of devolution. It comes before a debate on the future democracy at Holyrood in Mackintosh's honour. Jess Rourke has the story.
John Pitcairn Mackintosh is remembered as a Labour politician, professor, writer and a fierce proponent of devolution in Scotland. The debate that will be hosted by Holyrood tomorrow, titled Where Now for Democracy, has been organised by the University of Edinburgh, where Mackintosh was a professor of politics until his death at the age of 48. The university are also running a memorial exhibition within Parliament, sponsored by Labour MSP Ian Gray.
The Parliament in which I served, the Scottish Parliament, in no small measure owes its existence to work that John P. Mackintosh did, because back in those days he was probably the foremost Labour voice in support of devolution in a Scottish Parliament. And that was at a time when in the Labour Party that wasn't a popular position at all.
The exhibition holds artefacts of Mackintosh's work as a politician and a scholar, including products of his academic career at a time where former Prime Minister Gordon Brown was one of his students.
Well, John Mackintosh was one of the most brilliant lecturers, one of the most brilliant thinkers, one of the great professors that Edinburgh University has had, and someone who saw the future in a more imaginative and thought-provoking way than almost any other person I knew when I was growing up and was a student and then teaching in Edinburgh.
The devolution advocate was highly regarded in both professions he dedicated himself to. His legacy continues through his writing, which is still celebrated to this day.
In his day, John P. Mackintosh wrote that Scottish Government must reform government. He said it needed to be more effective, cheaper and more responsive to the Scottish public. What stands today is recognised as the Parliament he designed himself through his own writing, a devolved Parliament he never lived to see.
Now let's take a look at some local news with the Beast from the East dominating the headlines. Here is Ruth Suter.
The severe weather conditions impacting Scotland have been felt keenly in Edinburgh. The majority of Lothian bus services are currently running limited routes across the capital, yet more flights to and from Edinburgh Airport have been grounded with fires and are likely to be affected across the next few days. In traffic, the Forth Road Bridge is to remain closed this evening with a Met Office red warning in force. Hibernians matched against Hamilton tonight at Easter Road has been called off due to severe weather. Football across Scotland is cancelled this evening. Celtic versus Dundee and Motherwell versus Aberdeen are also postponed until a later date. Edinburgh Council has ordered a clampdown on the staging of outdoor festivals and events in the city centre after it received complaints about overcrowding, over-commercialism and disruption of local residents. Organisers will be urged to relocate activities outside the heart of the capital despite protests from the event sector.
Breaking news now, and Russia has had its Olympic membership restored by the International Olympic Committee. Alexander Zhukov, president of Russia's Olympic Committee, hailed the decision as very important and thanked Russian athletes and fans for their behaviour during the ban. 168 Russian athletes competed under a neutral banner, OAR, or Olympic Athletes from Russia, at this month's Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang.
More than 5,000 jobs have been put at risk across the UK as retail stores Toys R Us and Maplin collapsed into administration this afternoon. Toys R Us, who employ 3,000 people across the UK, hope to sell part of the company amid support from internet giants Amazon. American-based electronics firm Maplin employ 2,500 people in Britain, their announcement coming only minutes after Toys R Us, as two of the most well-known retailers on the UK high street, add to a flurry of redundancy so far this year. Hearts Football Club commemorates 7 former players who lost their lives during the First World War as part of a nationwide campaign called There But Not There. We spoke to Hearts fans about the importance of their club supporting veterans. Jamie Munn went to Tynecastle.
The campaign to mark 100 years since the end of the First World War launched today across the country. Scotland's launch took place at Tynecastle as 7 Hearts players lost their lives in the battle and 13 were wounded.
You know, this is the only place we would have come to launch this charity. You know, not only did they inspire the communities around them to sign up, but they inspired other football teams and football players, and also got the nation behind it to say that this club, and actually they're very known as the bravest team in the world, because they really are.
The campaign is called There But Not There and features an art installation across the UK of 6-foot Tommy statues. Hearts historian David Spieth tells of the pride the club have of supporting this campaign.
We're immensely proud that the charity is being launched here at Tynecastle Park, because the club is very, very proud of its contribution towards the support of the nation in the Great War.
Hearts fans also spoke fondly of the campaign.
I think it's a great charity, and obviously the most awareness we can get for it, the better.
It doesn't matter what club it is, if it's a football club or any organisation, anybody that celebrates that, they're doing a great thing.
The campaign hopes to raise £15 million for armed forces and mental health charities, with the help of selling smaller Tommy statues online.
Despite Hibernian Football Club's home game against Hamilton being postponed tonight, Hibs manager Neil Lennon addresses his touchline conduct at Kilmarnock at the weekend. Daniel Tunney has a story.
The SFA have charged Neil Lennon after he was sent off by referee Kevin Clancy against Kilmarnock last weekend. The Hibs boss was angered after his side conceded a contentious penalty, but now has regrets over his reaction.
I didn't agree with the penalty decision, and I didn't agree with me being sent off. However, my reaction to the sending off was regrettable, but it was at an insult to injury. So from my point of view, I see other managers behave a lot worse than my behaviour was on Saturday. Even when you see the referee come over to talk to me, I'm stood there quite calmly. I disputed the decision at the time, like any other manager would. There was no conversation between me and the referee, and I was sent straight to the stand, hence my reaction.
With Neil Lennon clearly aggrieved, we spoke with Kilmarnock fans who shared their views on the sending off.
I personally didn't think it was a penalty, but his reaction was stupid. It was stupid.
It was embarrassing, understandable, but it's not how adults are meant to respond, is it, really?
That was an overreaction. That in many games you get a penalty given or you get a penalty not given. Managers and everybody, we've just got to accept it.
Local councils across Scotland are investing in creative industries to boost job opportunities.
We visited Edinburgh theatres and spoke to creative art students about further employment and competition within the industry. Megan Fletcher has the story.
Lights, camera, action. Walking down the steps of Leaf's abandoned theatre, where Edinburgh City Council are spending £1 million to completely refurbish the interior.
With the increase in funding opportunities to the creative industries, it generates around £5 billion to the Scottish economy, making it one of the biggest industries in Scotland.
Never mind breaking a leg, the Edinburgh Council might be breaking the budget. I met with the Leaf Theatre Trust Director regarding future plans after the theatre's renovation.
I think Edinburgh as a city does very well out of the creative industries. We think that the long-term future of Leaf Theatre will be as a multi-purpose venue, probably majoring in music, because that seems to be where the market is. But that said, we don't want to exclude anything, and indeed we have a couple of very interesting theatre projects coming up later in the year.
I'm here at the King's Theatre's original board meeting in Edinburgh. From £1 million funding in the Leaf Theatre to £4 million funding in the King's Theatre, it's fair to establish that investing in the creative industries in Scotland is at everyone's interest.
King's Theatre is an asset to the City of Edinburgh. It's been here since 1906. It's been home to countless gala openings, royal visits. It's a keystone in the Edinburgh International Festival every August. Without it, it would be a great loss to the city if we didn't have the King's Theatre. It does provide jobs, it does provide creative opportunities, performance, live performance opportunities to students, amateur dramatics companies working in the city, and of course to all the visiting companies that come here and put on their shows.
The creative industries currently employ over 73,000 people in Scotland, which may make it a rather competitive industry for graduates.
It's quite hard to get funding a lot of the time because a lot of competition for funding, as with a lot of things. But in the art industry, without funding, it's really hard to get yourself started and get yourself really out there. So funding is probably one of our hardest issues.
I just feel that there's so much people here that wants to be a photographer too, so maybe I really want to start going back to my home country. I'm from Singapore, so I think I can start over there, but at the same time I know it's a very risky thing to be a photographer, or maybe in any arts industry, it's really risky, but yeah, I'm planning to go back to Southeast Asia first. Yeah.
The creative sector is influential to the Scottish economy, signifying that it is not the final curtain call.
It's 11:15. That's all from EN4 News for now. We'll leave you with the latest weather warning. Do not travel unless it's absolutely necessary.
And be sure to stay up to date on our website at en4news.com. From all of us here, have a lovely evening and stay safe.